White Americans are the real welfare queens, not the communities they love to demonize in political campaigns and around their dinner tables. They are the real welfare recipients. They've been fed on free land, free money, carve outs, and bailouts for generations, while pointing their finger at everyone else, especially the blacks, saying, "Work harder, stay diligent, and you too can be me one day." What a fraudulent, self-serving sham. My name is Shanda, and welcome to In the Deep End. Some Americans are masterful at the old switcheroo. You know, the bait and switch. All benefit from free land grants, zero interest loans, and government-backed housing, but the second I get mine, I'll point the finger at you and call you lazy. They cashed in on tax breaks, subsidies, land giveaways, and GI Bill benefits that built entire white suburbs, then turned right around and labeled black folks welfare queens or black women. I had this comment here just the other day, which actually prompted this video. And for those of you listening and not watching, I'll read it for you. And it says, "It's obvious welfare queens have ruined this country, or ruined the country, having 55 children by 93 different daddies and driving Bentleys and Maseratis and Teslas and other stuff. Living it up in public housing. Take that, you. Thanks, a concerned consumer." See, I have to come to the realization through many conversations with white people that many don't know their own history. And when asked to elaborate on their beliefs and assertions, just as sure as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, they simply say things like, "Well, it's the fault of the black community. They have all the opportunities in the world and they don't take advantage of them." Well, not you, Shanda, but you know what I mean. They look down at black people and arrogantly shout, "Get off your lazy asses and pull yourselves up," all while climbing ladders that were handed to them courtesy of Uncle Sam. Now, there will be some of you watching who get immediately offended. Some of you may even say, "Nobody ever gave me anything. I've worked really hard for everything I have." But I have to ask you, are you sure? Generational wealth doesn't always look like winning the lottery. Sometimes it's the house grandpa and grandma left behind, or the life insurance policy your parents were able to keep up because they held stable jobs, or even just the fact that your family had steady employment that opened doors to benefits, pensions, or mortgages. All of those things, those little advantages, stack up. And they stack higher and faster in white families than in families who look like mine, who were systemically locked out in those same opportunities. Now, let me pause here for the sensitive viewers. Nothing I'm saying is absolute, because nothing ever is. These points aren't all inclusive. They're not personal jabs, and I'm not here to alienate white people. What I am doing, though, is laying out the facts about the systems that shaped America. Facts don't bend to your emotions. They don't soften because they make you feel uncomfortable. So with that being said, let's talk about it, shall we? Let's start with the Homestead Act of 1862. White settlers were handed 270 million acres of stolen indigenous land, free of charge. Generations of white families still profit from those lands today. The biggest welfare check in American history has always been written in their name. When you hear these farmers say, I'm a 5th, 6th, 7th generational farmer, this is where it came from. Acres upon acres, free of charge. Of course, some families sold their lands and invested in other things like real estate, the railroad systems, banking, etc. This is why it was possible for many of them to generate wealth and why some sit in the positions they do now. And other white folks may find themselves poor because their ancestors squandered their lands and opportunity with bad investment deals, bad decisions, drinking, gambling. You know the type. That wasn't bootstraps. That was government handouts in acres. But when black folks finally became eligible for this land giveaway, and I believe it was 1866 or 68, somewhere around there, what happened? We were shut out. Now, some articles will say, well, technically, the Homestead Act could have benefited formerly enslaved people, but transportation and startup capital were an issue. No freaking kidding. They had just been released from plantations with nothing but the clothes on their backs and maybe a bag with an apple in it. How exactly were formerly enslaved people supposed to pack up, travel, and stake a claim when every single tool, dollar, and opportunity had been deliberately kept from them? The system wasn't built for us. It was designed to leave us out. Black Americans were promised 40 acres and a mule after emancipation. But we all know how that turned out. That promise was snatched back before the ink from the quill was dry. The selected land was promptly returned to former Confederates, aka slave owners. And black families were pushed into sharecropping and crippling debt. Or let's talk about the New Deal. The New Deal of 1935 promised safety nets for the American citizens, such as Social Security, unemployment insurance, and public works jobs funded by government projects. Sounds great, right? Well, the twist was, wait for it, agriculture and domestic service workers were intentionally excluded, which was, at that time, 65 to 75% of the population of black people. 65 to 75% of the black population were left out, excluded. No New Deal benefits for you, Blackie. Also, in 1934, the FHA created government-backed mortgages with low down payments and long repayment terms. In essence, making home ownership very affordable and abundantly accessible for white Americans, while black families were denied access to those loans through redlining, something they still do to this very day. Entire black neighborhoods were stamped as hazardous risk, and with one stroke of a pen, slammed the door shut, denying applications across the board, no matter how hard people worked or how qualified they were. No housing loans for you, Blackie. Keeping them paying rent and the white property owner wealthy. And oh, it gets so much deeper. But for the sake of time, I'll end that portion here. So in summary, white families got opportunity to build and black families got the big screw you. You better figure it out the best way you can. Fast forward to 1944. The GI Bill opened the door to middle class prosperity. Free tuition, low interest mortgages, and business loans, but only for the whites. Black veterans locked out. Out of tens of thousands of VA-backed mortgages, barely a handful went to black families. White veterans built suburbs and black veterans got shoved deeper into poverty. And yet, the myth lived on. If black families struggled, it was their fault. They're just lazy. Fast forward to 2025. And the farmer's dilemma is almost poetic. For generations, they've suckled on America's tit. And now they don't know how to survive without it. Many are wealthy precisely because they've been propped up since 1933, when the Agricultural Adjustment Act kicked off a pipeline of subsidies. And let's be clear. Even before that, Washington was cutting checks through other farm relief welfare. It just wasn't called a subsidy yet. Yes. Handouts and welfare go way back for the white man. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps? I think not. Historically, white America has shoved black people into a muddy hole filled with quicksand. Slavery, Jim Crow, economic exclusion, and then have the audacity to look down at us because our clothes are dirty and we're having a problem getting out. When in truth, you should be looking at us with reverence, wondering how the hell are they still here? How the hell are they still surviving and thriving? Because despite your deliberate and strategic efforts to keep your foot on our necks, in the words of the great Maya Angelou, and still we rise. White America has never pulled itself up by its bootstraps. Their rise was government-sponsored, systemically subsidized, and deliberately rigged to lock us out. There is a segment of white America that loves to preach about hard work and self-reliance. Yet their entire foundation was built on handouts, welfare, subsidies, and government lifelines. They boast about bootstraps while never once having to pull themselves up by any. Hear me when I say, you are in no position to judge anybody. Sit down, be quiet, and stop condemning others for the very thing you've depended on. And your family sits where it does because of it. Because at the end of the day, white America is and always has been the real welfare queen. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.